Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today, with us, Angel Rebo, CEO, consultant, TV host, international public speaker, and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation, is co hosting once again with our dear Sunny Chase. Sunny is not only the host of this show, but also the host of ABC Solutionary Sundays. She is the feature writer in chief strategist for Whole Lifetimes, the longest running conscious life magazine in America. Sunny is also a producer, moderator, and a mythbuster. They are going to be bringing a very special guest, and they're going to let you know exactly who they are in just a moment. But before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world. And you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we're going to be talking here today. We also want you to collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content. And for that, you can go to our website. On the top, you're going to find a link that says Collaborate with Mindalia. And the link is going to take you to a form that you can fill out for our technical team to be getting in contact with you. Remember that you can collaborate with Mindalia in English, in Spanish, and in Portuguese. Mindalia TV English, Mindalia Televisao, and Mindalia Televisión. Also, remember that while we are live streaming like right now, we're going to have the active chat, the screen that you're going to be seeing here on my side or under the video. In case that you're seeing us from a smartphone, feel free to enter your questions. Just remember the word question in caps before the actual question. We're not going to delay this any further, and I have the pleasure of leaving you with Angel, Sunny, and our two very special guests, Andrew and Connie. Guys, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction, Mirna, and welcome back, Connie. Excuse me, Connie, Sunny.
Good morning.
I have to be present. I have to be present.
Well, I'll give you an opportunity to do that, I think, because I have a little thing I'd like to do today before we start the show, or as we're starting the show. You know, Martin Luther King's birthday was 2 days ago, and he would have been 90 years old if we can imagine such a thing. And I was so lucky. I went to Agape International Spiritual Center this past Sunday, and Martin Luther King III, Martin Luther King's son, was there, and he was speaking. And so I wondered if you would indulge me. I wanted to sing a little thing in honor of Martin Luther King that was written by James Taylor. Would you, is that cool?
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Go ahead.
So, and sing along with me, guys, if you know this, but this is by James Taylor. I love this so much. It goes like this. Oh, let us turn our thoughts today to Martin Luther King and recognize that there are ties between us, all men and women living on the earth. Ties of hope and love, of sister and brotherhood. And we are bound together in our desire to see the world become a place where children can grow free and strong. We are bound together by the task that stands before us and the road that lies ahead. We are bound and we are bound. Oh, let us turn our thoughts today to Martin Luther King. So much we know has not yet happened, and that's something that Martin Luther King III was talking about. He was saying about his dad having a dream and about how America has not really created its greatest being as an entity, and there's so much work yet to do, but that the dream is still alive with him. And with our guests today, we're going to be talking about that a bit too, where we definitely have started, but we certainly haven't finished our journey. And so I wanted to share that with you. And I wrote down a few quotes that he said. He said that Martin Luther King III said, he said, We pray for true greatness of this country and that to come. My father before me and I do today. We have an opportunity to start anew, to release the dream. And he also said, it only takes a few good women and men to bring about the light. We must do it for those generations yet unborn. So I just wanted to start the show with an honoring of Martin Luther King today.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What a great way to start the show. So, so how are you? Have you been? We always have some, very, very intense weeks, both of us. How was yours?
Yes, well, we're preparing out here for the World Dignity Forum. There's lots going on about that. Shows, Whole Lifetimes magazine. We're gearing up for the next issue. We have the Los Angeles teachers strike out here. So just before we went on the air, I lived very close to an elementary school, and there was a lot of picketing and cars barking, honking in solidarity, and so kind of like that.
Okay, good. So intense, as I said before.
Yes.
Amazing things happen every single Thursday here. So
Yes.
you have been texting me for the last 7 days, actually 6 days, about the amazing guest that we brought today to the show. And Mindalia TV's audience really are going to enjoy what they are going to bring to us. And I was as I was reading all the information from the production team, I was really in awe. So please go ahead and introduce them.
Yes, let's bring them on. I know we chat longer, but let's do that. I'm going to give, there's so much about them that I asked Connie to actually send me a bit of a bio because there's just so many things. So I'm going to actually read this for a change. I normally don't do that, as you know, but so Connie Baxter Marlow is an author, filmmaker, photographer, and futurist. Her uplifting worldview offers practical means of transcending the current paradigm through absolute trust in a conscious, loving, abundant universe. She has co-authored the book, The Trust Frequency, which is what we're going to be talking about today a fair bit. 10 Assumptions for a New Paradigm, which synthesizes indigenous cosmology, quantum science, and Eastern and Western mysticism into a framework that resolves several paradoxes which have plagued humanity for millennia. Her insights come from her experiences of over 20 years with visionary Native American elders and her own access to higher frequency. Yahoo! She proactively seeks to bridge the gap of separation between the indigenous and non-indigenous worldviews through films, books, forums, and intercultural relationships. She believes the only way out is up to higher consciousness. And Andrew Cameron Bailey, who's also going to join us, is also a filmmaker, photographer, inventor, and author. He's a visionary thinker in the realms of human evolutionary potential and climate restoration. Yay, we need that. Wow. He has university degrees in literature, anthropology, and chemical engineering, and has lectured in chemistry and mathematics at the college level. He is the founder and CEO of Sacred Earth Enterprises. I can't wait to hear more about that. An ambitious for-profit startup with global vision. He has developed a rapid deployment solution to the climate crisis. Yay. He is also the co-author of The Trust Frequency and author of the historical mystery novel, The Mayflower Revelations, and director of the films In Search of the Future, What Do the Wise Ones Know, and Seeds of Freedom, A Vision for America. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, come on in, Connie and Andrew.
Welcome to Mindalia TV.
Welcome.
Here we are.
We're happy to be here. Wonderful to be here. We're here in Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado, which is a 350-acre working ranch, an intentional community, and a retreat and conference center. So, and a hub of consciousness and the transformation of consciousness. So we're thrilled to be here with you from here.
It's an honor to join you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The honor is ours, and thank you in the name of Mindalia TV and our other channels to be here with us today. So it's funny because only a few minutes ago, you probably are familiar with the Dr. Emoto's project, the gentleman in Japan that was able, that
Oh,
demonstrated that our frequency, our human frequency, our heart's frequency was able to change literally the structure, the molecular structure of the matter in the water. He was very famous because of that. And I'm sure that you've heard, and maybe you even know the institute, Sunny. I'm sure that you saw the lady that's now taking care of the institute. But I was just reading like an essay about it, and how powerful we are as human beings. When I was listening to the introduction, you both are visionaries and futurists. So there's so much of human potential that is not really tapped onto, right? I mean, how do you see the future of this world, given the power that we have inside of us that is not really being used today?
Do you want to answer?
okay. So one of the foundational bases of our book, The Trust Frequency, is that we create reality with the power of our consciousness. And I do that as an individual, but we do that as a collective, as an entire species. And what we think and what we believe actually determines what we experience. So if that is the case, and it is the case, then we probably need to upgrade our operating system so that we actually manifest a higher reality than the one we read about in the New York Times every day. That's my thoughts.
Yes, indeed. And our book, The Trust Frequency, is 10 Assumptions for a New Paradigm. We feel that humanity is out of balance because we don't understand how the universe works. We're operating on misinformation. We have been under the influence of a lower frequency. I believe that the earth was sitting in a lower frequency. So everyone, doesn't matter what your religion, what your beliefs, what your race, whoever you were, we've all been influenced by this lower frequency. So as you can see, what Christianity has done with the beauty of who Christ was, even the indigenous peoples who have this amazing cosmology that our work is to bring that cosmology and that connection to all that is into the Western mind. They were influenced by it too. Everybody, we're on the same boat, and we've been riding this boat, and we feel that it's not human nature, it's just a response to a lower frequency, and that the earth is actually moving into a higher frequency, and that we're discovering as our systems collapse that were built in the lower frequency, the systems are collapsing so that we can come into alignment with our true human potential, and that dream that Martin Luther King had, that the founders of this nation had, that there's a vision of the human potential that we're moving into, and we're supported by the energies that surround us. So all is not lost. It's what's up. It's what wants to happen, and we're part of that process. We're front runners. Those of us who are resonating and stepping forward with that knowing.
Whoa. One of the things that we all talked about, thank you for that, when we chatted yesterday, was talking about, I love to really get into this trust frequency because I've never heard those two words put together before. So I love to play with that. And we were talking a little bit about the Bushmen, as sort of a start to this conversation, because as we know, they've been with us for 60,000 years or longer. And I was wanting to quote from this beautiful book by the Bushmen, the Bushman Way of Tracking God by Bradford Keeney. And at some point I would love to meet him, guys. So I'd love to check in with him. But he was saying in the beginning, we were all Bushmen people, inseparable from the wild of nature. And again, knowing that that is not a primitive thing in the sort of judgmental way, but in the most exalted way. And he was also saying practicing the Bushmen are practice or were and still do as much as they can, practicing an extraordinarily potent form of spirituality for over 60,000 years. Critically important knowledge for all of us as we face today's modern challenges and crises. So knowing what comforts me is to know that wherever we are right now, that we have had that model and it still exists of supreme spirituality, happiness, joy, love, and excitement about life, connected to nature and having that be the way. And as our modern world has disconnected us more and more, and we've allowed that in our everyday life to be less and less connected with nature, it's created less and less health, less and less happiness, less and less spiritual connection and awakening, that we have the opportunity, because it's already here, to really tap into that. So do you agree with that? Is that possible? Am I too Pollyanna?
Let me pick up the Bushmen. So firstly, Sunny, I'd like to let those of our audience who don't know who the Bushmen are know who the Bushmen are, because remarkably on this show, you have spent time in Africa with the Bushmen. I have spent time in Africa with the Bushmen, and Connie has spent time in Africa with the Bushmen. But who are the Bushmen? Has anybody seen the film, Sunny?
The Gods Must Be Crazy.
Everybody saw that beautiful film that came out of South Africa during the sanctions, and it's one of the few things that came out. It was truly a precious gem. We're talking about those people who carry the oldest DNA among living communities on the planet. I grew up in South Africa knowing that there were Bushman rock paintings up in the mountains, up in the Drakensberg Mountains, in the center of which is Lesotho, where you were. But they were said to be extinct. They were believed to be extinct, and that was wrong. I went through a degree in social anthropology at the University of Natal in South Africa, and they were never mentioned, the world's oldest indigenous people. So one of the greatest miracles of our time is that they had simply succeeded in hiding, receding into the bush and behind the rocks and wherever for decades and decades and decades. And then they came out. Once Nelson Mandela came out, they came out. And that was really amazing that we could. And it took me personally 3 journeys to meet the first Bushmen I met. It took connections and contacts to find out who they were, where they were. And I believe you and your family spent some time with them, Sunny. So they carry not only the oldest DNA, and they're probably the greatest collection of wisdom about nature among any of the people currently existing on the planet, but they also somehow, without a language in common, communicate something about the open-heartedness. I took Connie there for the first time in her life. I'd worked with them for about 7 years. And what was your experience of the Bushmen?
Well, my experience was that I have never been loved on like that in my life. We did a film, our film In Search of the Future opens there. And we have several of the elders, 102-year-old grandmother, and they were a phenomenon. They have been so persecuted, and they are so full of love. And what I felt was that they are carrying that peace for humanity, that the Gods Must Be Crazy movie that's in the hearts of the world. Everyone recognizes the Bushman. So when a Bushman comes and shows up at your dining room table, you've got a love in your heart for him because you've seen this movie. I mean, throughout the world. So I see really big pictures and the coming of peace on earth and heaven on earth, and what roles we're all playing in that. And I see a key role of the Bushmen. I don't know the Australian Aborigines, but Andrew had a significant sort of revelation through the Australian Aborigines with quantum science, which is a big part of our book. That quantum science is now proving, or not proving because it can't prove the heart and the spirit and the love, but it's proving our interconnectedness. That's baseline for all of indigenous peoples, like interconnectedness with all of creation, that it's all alive, that it all has spirit, that it loves us. And that's the essence of our book, is that it's all love. There's nothing but love. And we resolve some paradoxes around that. with our construct on the nature of the universe and humanity's place in it, because it's really hard to see what's happened to the Bushmen, what's happened to the native people, what's happened daily as love, okay, that what we call not love. So anyway, we'd love to get into that at some point.
Well, I guess what my point is about that is that when we as spiritual manifestors in the spiritual manifesting community want to manifest a dream, want to manifest something that we feel that maybe has never been before, but we want to envision it. What I'm comforted by is knowing that the Bushmen have already, that was our starting place. That was the opportunity. So our opportunity, standing on the shoulders of the Bushmen, if that's even a possibility, to go even deeper, higher, bigger, and all of that. To not just say, in other words, it's a very high bar to start from. And one of the things that they really believe in, which I think is so cool, and this is a bit of a quote too, but the Bushman way, I just wrote down, is the original way to tracking God. What may be called original spirituality is surprisingly found through embracing wild laughter, syncopated rhythm, and ecstatic love, bringing forth absurd talk, spiritual music, and heartfelt embrace, being outrageously happy. So I think that is what we all as human beings do. Everything we do, when people say, what is your goal in your life, or what is the goal for your children? I just want them to be happy. And so this is, so I say, rock on, Bushmen. And here we are. So anyway, from that place we go, and in this show, even that's sort of like our picnic blanket, and we go from there.
Yeah, and I feel that it is our true nature. They're an example of it. It is our true nature. It is the true nature of the universe, and that wants to. We've been in process to come into alignment with it. That everything has had a purpose. That's essential in the indigenous knowing that everything has a purpose. So it's a matter of us choosing to come into alignment with our true nature and the true nature of the universe. And these indigenous peoples have been carrying pieces of that puzzle to show us the way.
Including the Native Americans, of course.
Absolutely.
Very much so, yes. May I say something about happiness?
Please.
I think Dalai Lama would agree. The purpose of life is happiness. It is happiness. And the tagline of our book is, we call it the Trust Frequency book. It says right on the cover, the high road to happiness. Now, what does that mean? We want to be happy, but are we happy, and do we know how to become happy if we're not? Why are we unhappy? Possibly because we're engaged with the world based on a set of either erroneous or outdated assumptions about the nature of reality. So the book is about examining some very deep core beliefs and bringing them to the surface, because we took them on as little children. We have inherited them from our predecessors. And if we, at least we can have a look at them and say, yes, I do want to believe that the neighbors are dangerous. I do want to believe that I'm unworthy. Maybe not. Maybe want to look at those things that are deep assumptions, deep unconscious within ourselves, that have enormous power over our thoughts and feelings and actions and happiness. And once we can upgrade, I call it our operating system, our set of assumptions, that which we believe to be true, from which we act. And once we can upgrade that, happiness just becomes a given.
I was fascinated. I have to confess, maybe the reason why this happens is because I'm originally from another country. I'm from Spain. I wasn't familiar with the Bushmen as you were, and when you were explaining the concept. But I lived for a long time in Latin America, and I visit indigenous communities in Latin America very, very often through my foundation. But they definitely have something special and something magic, and they're much more attached to the wealth and abundance of their surroundings than anybody else. And they see life in a different way. But how would you say that Bushmen have actually impacted your own personal lives in order to do what you do today?
Well, for me, I haven't had very much contact with the Bushmen. I saw their heart and their love and their connection. I've had 20 years of experiences with the Native Americans, with what I call visionary Native elders. I asked early on in my youth, what are the missing pieces of the paradigm that have humanity out of balance? And the answers you get depend on the questions you ask. And my life became this search for these missing pieces. I went to Europe and just found the same paradigm. And I was in a bookstore in New Mexico and picked up a book of Native American poetry and discovered, oh my goodness, 500 Indian nations have keys, have clues to these missing pieces of the paradigm. And after that, these visionary elders started coming into my life. And I saw through their way of life and through their cosmology, these clues. See, they call it the great mystery. It's a great mystery. We have no idea, truly. But all we can do is move closer and closer to our articulation and understanding and to our connection to that great mystery and our embodiment of it. So that's the process we're all in here today, is just talking and exchanging ideas and seeing how we can get closer to our personal alignment. And that's what our book is about, is helping people come into a closer alignment with their own divinity, understanding that we are divine, autonomous, sovereign beings. We've come as Andrew calls them, roving sensory organs of the divine, calls us humanity, because, we feel that our life journey has to do with coming into alignment with that, our shadow pieces, facing our shadow pieces that we came to work on in this life walk, so that we align with our divinity and we bring heaven to earth. We see our oneness, we experience it, we live it. To me, that's a given, that we're about to take that leap, that veil's thinning, and we're going to get it, that we are one. We will lay down the weapons of war. The whole thing will shift. We're moving into a higher frequency where there's more abundance than we can fathom, so there's nothing to fight over. Our whole economic system is based on the concept of scarcity. Well, scarcity doesn't exist. We made that up. And as soon as we understand how abundant, that there's nothing to fight over because we have more than we can fathom. And Jesus showed that with the loaves and the fishes, the 40 bushel baskets left over after feeding the multitudes. He was a way shower. That we've got lots of Native Americans experience that. They can pierce that veil and have the unending abundance come through. I've known some who have, but you have to be on that frequency.
And why would you say that it's so difficult to be on that frequency? And how could we help people to be in that frequency more often than what they are today?
So let me say that when I was beginning to write the book, The Trust Frequency, La Frecuencia de la Confianza. See?
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
We were spending time with the Bushmen in the Kalahari. And you asked the question, Angel, what did you gain from them? I think that was your question. What did you get from the Bushmen that in your life going forward, right? And what actually then to transcribe and write down in the book, in the Trust Frequency book, was simply this extraordinary ability, despite all the suffering of their history. If you really, really know, and I've read 15 books, academic books and anthropological books about these, the most studied people on the planet. And it rips your heart out. It breaks your heart the way they have been treated long, long, long before the white people came. They're not, interestingly, they're not blacks. They're a different race. Some people call them the apricot-colored race because they're actually different. When the little babies are born, you can't really tell the difference between a white baby and a Bushman baby. They go brown in the sun, It's interesting. So when and previously they used to occupy the whole of Africa, all the way to Egypt. All the way to thousands of years ago, you can read accounts of these people in Egypt. And now there's just a very few left at the southern tip of Africa in 5 countries there at the south of Africa. But history has been harrowing. And yet they have come through that with an open heart and a kindness and a loving acceptance of strangers and individuals coming in from the United States with video cameras and so on. And I had worked previously for about 7 years with them and had an organization called Indigenous Heritage, and had developed some trust. So when Connie came to Africa for the first time, she was amazed to discover, firstly, all of these people had cell phones. They're out there on the dunes with a cell phone. That's crazy because it wasn't like that in rural America. Secondly, they were totally open to us, and we knew where to go, and we made this film, and I encourage everybody to see that film because it holds the spirit of these beautiful people, and it is a spirit of love and acceptance.
And how our work, you then asked, how can we help people get into the frequency more? And what we feel is that given our understanding of the nature of the universe, the current paradigm, we can't get there from here, from this paradigm. We have to shift our core assumptions because everything else is an overlay over erroneous core assumptions. And what we point out is that the universe is responding to our vibratory level. And what creates our vibratory level, therefore our reality. Well, what we say is that it's our consciousness, and we have 7 A's of consciousness, 7 words that begin with A, and that actually is physics. It's okay, what are we vibrating at? What level are we vibrating at? Because what we're saying is that every frequency has a different set of laws. So we can shift our individual frequency, our individual vibratory level. We can shift our entire reality. It doesn't matter what the person next door is doing or our twin sister. They have their choice, their soul's journey. We have our choice. It's all free will, what we choose. And we're just offering options, a new option, a new construct on the nature of the universe that comes through this indigenous cosmology, this indigenous connection to the love of the universe, so that everything shows up for us. We don't have to, and that timing, everything happens in perfect timing, and that we're interconnected and loved. And so these 7 A's, we have them in a sentence, and I can tell you, I can say the sentence.
Let me say one quick thing.
Yes.
So what Connie's talking about here is really that has baffled science and psychiatry and psychology. And that is, what is consciousness? And if you go to the dictionary, it most likely will simply say consciousness is awareness. Good. The first word beginning with the letter A is awareness. But that's not the whole story by any means. So what is consciousness? And as we began to brainstorm that, these words came out, and amazingly, they all began with the letter A. So, awareness.
So, yeah, awareness.
Assumptions,
Yes.
action, allowing, all of those things. So Connie assembled these words into a single sentence. And as a takeaway, if anybody can remember this sentence, it's kind of a, how do I check my state of consciousness at any given moment in the day?
Would you like to hear the sentence?
Yes, please.
Okay. The sentence is, with expanded awareness and accurate assumptions, we choose our attitude, consciously direct our attention, align with our highest inner promptings, take committed action, which is the kicker, to live it. Okay, we got to live it. Take committed action and allow the loving universe to manifest beyond our wildest dreams.
Mm.
Wow, beautiful.
I
Could you
love
repeat it? Could you repeat it?
Yeah, like a little quicker so people can actually catch it and write it.
Okay.
So isn't she good? She's so good at this. I mean,
Oh, of course.
Okay, do
Go
it.
for it. Go for it.
All right. With expanded awareness and accurate assumptions, we choose our attitude, consciously direct our attention, align with our highest inner promptings, take committed action, and allow the loving universe to manifest beyond our wildest dreams.
Wow. Okay, that's that's the recipe for evolution for us all, and it takes us up and it takes us into our hearts so much. And then I love that you have the piece of the action and the embodiment of it, which is why we're here in the earth. I believe that why we took bodies on was to literally embody these principles that are needed in a body for us to expand and use and play with each other with. That's what we're here for.
That's
Don't
what
you think?
the whole human experience is for us with free will to choose to bring it heaven to earth through the physical. And we can't do it with the current assumptions about the nature of the universe. Cannot get there from here. We have to shift our understanding, and quantum science is helping us do that, helping the linear, logical mind do that.
Yeah,
So,
it's funny because I always wonder why there's no like, subject on elementary schools in the world that says universal laws. It would be, oh my God, so easy. Can you imagine that every single kid in the world was exposed to these are the top, those are the, I don't know how many there might be, but 7. Let's say there's the 7, universal laws that everything abides by and that everything works with. And can you imagine Sunny just having that knowledge that, everything that we see is just, maybe it depends on the perspective. I like the concept of an holographic reality, that we construct with our senses an hologram that we live in all the time. And I read some information or some articles about that too. It's amazing what you are sharing with us. It's really incredible that all these concepts. And so if we repeat this sentence, then we will be able to really assess if we are in the right path, kind of thing. It allows us to really know how well aligned we are in a particular moment. Would that be? I'm trying to help our audience to understand exactly, when they say this beautiful sentence, probably they will be able to see if they are on the right path in a particular moment.
Think about it this way. It is a roadmap on the high road to happiness. And if you can just repeat the way people use a mantra, perhaps, I guess you could actually do that, to repeat that sentence and check, what is my state of awareness? Where am I putting my attention? What am I aligning myself with? And through all of that, what are my actions? And then do I trust enough to step back and allow the loving universe to manifest? Because we get in the way, because we try to control it. And you can't control and trust at the same time. You have to surrender control in a state of true trust.
I was going to ask you, Connie, I was going to say, as I'm thinking of this and sort of in response to your question, Angel, when I'm listening to this sentence and how it impacts me, is I feel like if I had that sentence with me and I was on a kayak in the river, and I'm wanting to get somewhere, it's sort of that there's a moment of and I'm not remembering them all, but the acceptance, and then all the way to allowing, and starting with the awareness, but sort of having that check on myself as I'm going through my life, or maybe even in the morning as a morning prayer, and as I go to bed, sort of like, this is what I wish for myself. This is what I want for myself. And as I'm going down the river in the kayak and I'm feeling my way along, that it's an opportunity for me to, not bump along the side, but sort of stay on my path. And, some days I'll be a little closer to the sides, and some days, the currents will come in, the rapids will come in, and still on my path, kind of going through with my kayak, just continuing to row. So that's what kind of came to me when you were saying the sentence 2 times. And so that's how I'm going to use it.
Beautiful. And just for us to understand that it's physics, it's vibration, it's not judgment, it's not even right path versus wrong path. There's no such thing. Our construct actually takes us beyond duality to know that everything has a purpose and it's all free will. And you're saying that about the kayak. I often use the example of the labyrinth. Was it Ariadne or whoever in the Greek?
Ariadne's thread, yeah.
The thread, the gossamer thread. Okay, you follow the gossamer thread, and you don't even know there's a labyrinth there, because you're walking just gently through. Okay, your metaphor of the kayak. Okay, and if you don't follow the gossamer thread, you don't listen to your intuition and trust it and take action, you're bash up against this part of the labyrinth and bash and bash and bash and bash and bash and bash instead of this. So it's exactly your metaphor, which I
absolutely. I love the metaphor, Sunny. And actually, I was just, while you were describing it, I was inside that kayak myself, and it was a very fast current. And I couldn't get where I wanted to go, and it was just, the life and everything that controls our, our awareness or our attention. Let's say our attention. There's so many things around us that control what we do, where we go, where we look at, where we put our energy. And something extremely interesting that you just mentioned, because there's a lot of, I would say even schools of thought that talk about duality. And you just said it's not duality. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? I think that's magic.
How about Rumi?
Oh, right. Rumi says, there's a field beyond right doing and wrong doing. I'll meet you there. And there's actually a sentence after that where he describes it. I don't have that at the tip of my tongue. But until we get out of duality, we're stuck in a lower frequency. And how do we get out of duality? How do we see the things that we see things as not love? How do we get the inhumanity of humanity and all things that happen to us that we see as not love? We resolve that paradox in this construct on the nature of the universe. And the way we do that is we say the universe loves us so much, it gives us everything we ask for. Okay, what are our requests? What are we asking for? We don't know. We think in our minds we're asking for a new Mercedes or a this or a that. But what we asked, we gave an overarching act of free will when we incarnated on Earth, on our journey to wholeness, with a purpose and a gift. And we said, we chose this. It's our overarching act of free will. We said, loving universe, take us on this journey to wholeness. Show me the pieces of myself that I don't love yet. And the people show up in our lives to give us that. So we choose our family. Our soul actually magnetizes the loving universe, the behavior of others, to show us our own shadow, the parts of ourselves we do not yet love. It's our work. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's what we came here to do, so that we can align with our divinity and bring heaven to earth and influence the collective. That's our job, is to do this for the collective as well as our own lives. And so what we say is, we don't know another person's journey. We don't know what they chose came here to do. If they came to be abused, if they came to die by murder, if they came to, in this construct, if you take it as absolutely true, there has to be another explanation if there is only love. And we give a construct where it's hard to take, but it's okay. We don't know another soul's journey. And it's all free will. So, and it's all leading to peace on earth and heaven on earth. So that's a gist of resolving that construct, that paradox with this construct. We're not saying it's true. We're just saying, here's a construct that actually resolves that paradox. Take it or leave it. It's all good news. It's all free will. It's absolute free will. Absolute.
One thing Thank you for that, Connie. And one thing that you were saying that stirred something in me to just mention in this conversation is earlier you were talking about how there is abundance of everything. There's nothing to have a war about, or there's nothing to fight over because we have abundance of everything. And as you were speaking, I was thinking of when you were speaking of the other people having souls, you know, and their own soul journey and their situation. I think sometimes in the Western world, there's a bit of a competition, a jealousy, you know, if they, to pull people down when they, you know, somebody else is rising up around us. We don't necessarily always have the full heart, yay, excitement that they are achieving their dream in their life because, oh, whoops, I'm not going to achieve mine. So the idea of what you're talking about, I think also, if we take that into our personal lives, we can also apply that to anyone in our life, and be extremely excited for anyone who's doing anything in a positive way. You know, you were speaking of the sort of more negative, like if they're, you know, having a hard time in their life. But I think it's great to, you know, shift it over to the positive and say everyone around us we can applaud and be inspired by and know that they're on their journey and we have all of ours to do too, and be amazing in our own life in our own way with our own flavors and colors and way and all that. So I just want to add that in.
Yeah, it's like a jigsaw puzzle that we're each carrying a piece of the jigsaw puzzle. So to acknowledge everyone for their piece of the puzzle and help them to realize that piece of the puzzle so that we get to see this picture that has never been seen before on the planet. But it takes all of us to realize our gift and the promise, the gift we promised to bring to the party. So that's, if once we understand that we're all divine, autonomous, sovereign beings who came here to bring heaven to earth, and that everyone's playing a role, then we actually achieve dignity for all, which is what the World Dignity Forum is all about, is dignity for all. How do we get there? Well, we get there by understanding that it's all love. We all came here to bring a gift to the party, and every piece of the puzzle is a key piece of the puzzle.
And each of us is precious, and each of us is essential to the whole. Every single being, including none, doesn't necessarily include rabbits and deer and lions. It's every sentient being in this universe is here to, as Connie said earlier, I call us, all of us, roving sensory organs of the divine. And it's like a beautiful sphere of, like a diamond, and there's all these facets. And if any facet of that diamond is missing, it's not complete. It's a cosmic hologram. And each of us is essential to the whole.
You mentioned that you are actually in Colorado, and you actually run or lead an intentional community. You said, or I heard the word intention or intentional community. So could you tell us or share with us a little bit more? How are you trying to do that? How do you do that? How do you make it intentional?
To clarify one thing, we do not lead it. It has been here.
Okay.
It has been here where we are right now. It has been since 1945. It is a spiritual community that began then. The group began about 10 years earlier, about 1935 in Canada. It was started by some English aristocrats and some spiritual visionaries. Interesting history story. It has been organic from the start. It is 350 acres, and we are simply here as part of, we're filmmakers, so we contribute our media talents and skills to this community. We have approximately 100 people who live here, and it's global. There's a center in Australia, there's one in South Africa, there's one in Canada for sure, there's something in England. So it's called the Emissaries of Divine Light. So this group sees itself with a mission to bring divine light to humanity, something like that.
And to be a teaching and demonstration site for the spiritual regeneration of humanity. And David Karcher is the spiritual director. And the whole thing resonates to this trust frequency that we've been describing. So that's, they say they're honored to have us here. because we bring that energy and we're stepping out in the world with our version of this spiritual regeneration of humanity. So we're honored to be here, and they're honored to have us, and we love it.
And you may have heard of Barbara Marx Hubbard. If you have, she too lives here. So she's our dear friend. We see her every day. And yeah, it's a wonderful place to have as a home base, because we travel. Our work takes us on the road all the time. We're here for about maybe 2 more weeks, and we have a conference in New York, and we have to get to LA for the World Dignity Forum, our life. So we're here about half the time. And it's called Sunday.
I want to step in. Oh, excuse me. I want to step in and just remind everybody that that Andrew and Connie, and remind you, of course, Angel, that they will be speaking and presenting and everything at the World Dignity Forum, which is going to be February 8th through 10th in LA here at the Immerse. What is it called, guys? The Immerse Art
Dome.
Wisdom Immersive Park or something.
Thank you. And so, yeah, so you guys will be there doing stuff. And again, with this being our month of World Dignity, or actually dignity is our word this month, it's perfect that we have you on. And Angel, I'd like to hear these guys talk a little more about the trust frequency, what that actually means. Is that cool with you?
Oh, absolutely. I actually, I mean, you just read my mind. I think we're developing some telepathic powers among us. We're both half psychic, with the permission of the audience. So how can we? Yeah, exactly. So how can we get into that frequency?
Well, let me just say one thing. She started this with the dream of America. Okay, America was founded on a trust-based paradigm, a providence-based paradigm, and the native people have a trust-based paradigm. So it's a vision that has been held that we can get there, that we're in process. And so I just wanted to bring that in as far as, because the evolution of this nation is key. That on the coin of our nation, we have "In God We Trust." Okay, this is a key piece of getting up and out into this place where we can realize the human potential. So do you have anything to say about how to get there? Because I just want to bring in this America piece, because that's a big part of our work, is the founding of this country and the syntheses that happened between the European colonists and the American Indian during the first 50 years of peace and friendship in Plymouth, Massachusetts. There was a spiritual alignment of the Mayflower Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Indians, the visionary leaders of those people that kept their people in peace for 54 years. It's a very exciting beginning of this nation that is an intercultural synthesis in a trust-based paradigm. So, and we've written books and done films on the subject, and we're actually partnering with Unity Earth. That's what we're going to New York for. We're partnering with them because they have a global initiative to unite humanity. And it culminates in a caravan of unity across America on the road to 2020. They're calling their whole initiative. And this 2020 is a very big year for the coming of the unity of humanity and for America, because that's the 400th anniversary of the landing of the Mayflower. So I just wanted to throw all that in because it's a trust frequency push vision that we can do this thing, and America is a piece of that. And Martin Luther King saw it, and his son
Mm-hmm.
is carrying it on. I'm so happy to hear that, because we step out every year on Martin Luther King birthday to say to people, hey, he had this vision, let's go for it. We didn't this year, but we often do. So thank you for bringing him in and the America piece in. And otherwise, to answer your question, maybe you want to answer this question now. Push for America.
Well, on Martin Luther King, I will say, we have a dream. We have a dream, do we not? Martin Luther King expressed a dream, and we have that same dream. And are we there yet? Doesn't look like it. So it's a process. And one way of moving through that process is articulated in our book, in the trust frequency. We actually set out to say, okay, what is it? What's the problem? Why are we not the highest manifestation we could possibly be as humans? And if so, what can we do about that? And the realization that our beliefs, our worldview are so powerful, so profound. So the question becomes, what are they? What am I most fun? Did anyone ever walk to you on the street, Angel, and say, excuse me, sir, what are your 10 most fundamental beliefs? Nobody asks this question in our culture. It's simply not there. So we have begun the asking of that question. Our workshops and what we do is about asking these questions or helping people to ask themselves these questions. What do I truly, truly, truly believe? So what's an assumption? It is a belief that we take to be true without question. And we talk about we need a paradigm shift. What is a paradigm? It's simply a collection of assumptions, right, that we've collectively agreed upon. It's our consensus reality. So if our consensus reality is composed of a bunch of beliefs that are either not true, erroneous, or they used to have value back in the day, but now they're actually dangerous. For example, the belief in separation. You are from a different culture than I am from, therefore we have a problem. Give me a break. You're from a different culture than I am, therefore I love that. I want to know your language, I want to hear your songs, I want your poetry, I want your literature, right? All of that is...
Give them to us.
So humanity needs to come together, and we need, I think the fundamental way to accomplish that, or at least to get a start on that, is to really examine our own beliefs. It's about introspection. Can I look inside myself and say, am I comfortable with myself? Am I comfortable with people of another culture? If not, why not? What's up with that? And why am I operating from those beliefs? So it's literally like if my computer is slowing down and getting sluggish and needs an upgrade to the operating system, what is the operating system of a human being? It is precisely those beliefs that we received as children and we perpetuated. Now I'm 60 years old and I'm still behaving on beliefs my dad taught me when I was 3.
By the way, I want to just interject, Angel. I know we are coming to the top of the hour, and so, and I just wanted to also quickly say, as long as we're honoring Martin Luther King, I want everyone to know that Yolanda King, who is the granddaughter of Martin Luther King and named after her auntie who passed away many years ago, who I actually got to sing with, is out there speaking it, bringing it. She was at the March for Our Lives and all that. So I just want to honor the family who, you know, as you were pointing out, are carrying on the dream, carrying on the march, and carrying on the dancing in the streets, taking it to the streets. So
absolutely. So we must wrap it up now. Right now, I would definitely like to let the audience know, how can we find you guys? How can we find Connie and Andrew, please?
We're easy to track down. Google knows our every move.
Anyway, we have thetrustfrequency.net, La Frecuencia de la Confianza.com.
Look at that.
For our translated into Spanish, it's a Spanish audiobook and a Spanish ebook. And we have first 50 YEARS.US, first 50 years.
That's what this book is about,
See,
just so you know.
Andrew's written a historical mystery novel called The Mayflower Revelations to set the record straight around what actually happened in the first 50 years.
I love that.
We have In Search of the Future movie.com.
Where you can watch the film that starts in the Kalahari with the Bushmen. Mm-hmm.
And on the first 50 years, you can also watch our film, Seeds of Freedom, A Vision for America. And Andrew has Sacred Earth Enterprises.us.
The climate will have, I'd like
to. Guys, is there a place, like, do you have a website where people can just go to find all these things?
That's a whole bunch of websites, and they are, you know, there is.
So we'll Google you.
Really one central one. So the climate conversation we'd love to have at some point. I don't know if that's a subject that's of interest to this audience.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and just in a nutshell, for me, the love of the Mother Earth is catalyzing us into an open heart. We're grieving the loss now because we're at the edge. And to me, that's what it's for. And it's catalyzing us into our spiritual connection to all that is, and into seeking out the native people to say, okay, you're the caretakers of the earth. You have a connection we've lost. What do we do? So it's all feeding into this evolution of consciousness to me, because that's all there is. It's becoming a peace on earth and heaven on earth.
Perfect.
We'll definitely bring you back, definitely, as Sunny anticipated. So again, thank you very much for being with us today, Connie and Andrew. It's been an honor, really. I mean, thank you for sharing so much, and there's so much that still has to be shared, right, Sunny?
Yeah, indeed. And we'll see them at the World Dignity Forum coming up. And I know you're going to want to know how people can reach me. So you know it's Sunny at let'simagine.live, and also wholelifetimes.com. You can find my articles and all of that there. And on Solutionary Sundays on ABC out here in LA. And of course here next week with the wonderful and fabulous Angel.
Thank you.
Wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And again, this is Angel Rebo with Mindalia TV. Thank you for being with us today. Another extraordinary show. I hope that, or we hope that you liked it as much as we did. Thank you, Sunny, again, for an incredible conversation. Thank you so much, Connie and Andrew. Wow. And for everybody else, we hope to see you again next Thursday with another amazing adventure and conversation. Thank you for being with us today. Have a wonderful day and see you soon. Bye-bye.